bright fire light shone on this space, which seemed to have been in darkness for 10,000 years. However, Xiaoyan involuntarily felt a chill over his body despite the light from the flame. The source of this chill seemed to be the enormous creature that was present in the dark space below. It was an indescribably huge creature that lay within the dark, empty space without moving. Xiaoyan's sight shifted along its body. However, he was still unable to see an end to its body when his sight was blocked by the darkness in the distance. This mysterious creature was completely purple-gold in color. Icy cold scales covered its body. A kind of hard steel-like feeling rose from it. Xiaoyan was floated in the empty space. His eyes were unable to see the creature in its entirety. One could imagine just how unbelievably large this creature was. It was the first time that Xiaoyan had seen a body of this size after all these years. Even though his decades of experience had allowed Xiaoyan to maintain a great control of himself, he still felt greatly shocked when he suddenly discovered that there was actually such a huge creature, which could devour the sky, present in the dark space under him. Who could have imagined that there would actually be such a terrifying creature existing within this quiet space, which appeared to be void of life? Gulp! Xiaoyan's throat rolled involuntarily. Traces of cold sweat had even appeared on his forehead. He carefully observed the huge creature sitting below. Even with his eyesight, he was unable to guess just what kind of creature it was. I must not remain in this place. Since he had already learnt that the bottom of the magma world did indeed hide the ancient god cave, Xiaoyan had also intended to withdraw. Although that huge creature below was completely quiet and appeared dead, his D-state soul allowed Xiaoyan to detect a trace of dangerous aura. This kind of aura was not inferior to that of Hun Tiandi or Gu Yuan. It was best not to remain in this place for long. The most appropriate course of action was to gather his people and get Gu Yuan to accompany him to probe this ancient god mansion. Xiaoyan's body slowly pulled back as this thought flashed across his heart. However, he had only just taken 10 steps back when he suddenly sensed that the huge creature's body below him shook slightly. Although this movement was slight, it still caused Xiaoyan's eyes to shrink. He understood that with his strength, he was definitely not mistaken. In that case, there was only one answer. This mysterious creature was still alive. Xiaoyan's retreating speed suddenly soared the moment he thought of this. Key. A pair of huge eyes within the dark, empty space, which had been shut for a long time, were suddenly opened when Xiaoyan had began to pull back. This pair of eyes had a faint redness in them. Those eyes were solemn. Just the size of this pair of eyes was already hundreds of times larger than Xiaoyan. This pair of eyes were locked onto Xiaoyan the moment they had opened. At the same time, an extremely terrifying pressure directly enveloped Xiaoyan's body, causing his retreating speed to suddenly slow. Xiaoyan's expression changed after that terrifying pressure enveloped his body. He activated his D-state soul. Only then did he manage to reduce this feeling of having fallen into a quagmire. Tomb Raider, did you bring the ancient jade? The space suddenly shook as Xiaoyan's spiritual strength surged. A voice, which caused even the space to tremble, suddenly sounded. Xiaoyan tightened his fist. He looked at the pair of huge eyes within the darkness. At this moment, those eyes contained an icy chill as they stared at him in an indifferent fashion. There was no fluctuation within it. I have accidentally barged into this place. Please forgive me if I have disturbed it. I will immediately withdraw. Xiaoyan cupped his hands together towards the eyes and spoke in a deep voice. No ancient jade, huh? A voice sounded within the space after the creature heard this. Immediately, Xiaoyan seemed to have seen some disappointment and an icy cold murderous intent. This is bad. Xiaoyan's expression changed drastically upon detecting this emotion. He could not be bothered with anything else. The purifying demonic lotus flame covered his body, and a pair of bone wings was extended from his back, after which he hurriedly withdrew. "Please remain behind if you do not have it," the indifferent voice once again sounded, after which the entire space suddenly shook. Bright purple gold light pillars broke through the darkness. It penetrated through the empty space and ruthlessly shot towards Xiaoyan. Mao! Xiaoyan's eyes became cold after he saw that mysterious creature unleashing an attack. His hand seal changed, and his enormous spiritual body appeared outside. He widened his mouth, and a terrifying spiritual assault swept over from all directions. In an instant, it ruthlessly collided with the purple-golden light pillar. Boom! A storm exploded within the space as the loud sound appeared. Mao! Mao! The storm swept over the place, but the purple light still remained. Xiaoyan's D-State Soul's yellow spring divine anger was unable to shatter it. His eyes quickly became even more solemn. With a change of his hand seal, another two ferocious spiritual fluctuation surged out from him. Bang bang! Two spiritual sonic wave attack heavily smashed onto the purple light. This time around, the purple light was finally shattered. However, Xiaoyan also staggered backwards by 10,000 feet because of the lingering force. What a terrifying strength this big fellow has. Shock surged within Xiaoyan's heart after this exchange. Just a random attack had forced Xiaoyan to use all his strength to block it. The strength of this mysterious creature was definitely not inferior to Han Tiandi or Gu Yuan. D-State Soul! The mysterious creature's voice within the empty darkness contained a little surprise. Xiaoyan did not have the time to bother about him. He took advantage of the force to once again rush to the exit of this realm. Swoosh! While Xiaoyan was rushing with rapid speed, another sharp wind suddenly surged from behind him. The corner of his eyes shifted, and he saw a purple-gold light flashed. It actually agglomerated into a mysterious light seal, after which it came smashing furiously onto Xiaoyan. Damn it! Xiaoyan's expression was once again altered as he sensed the terrifying strength contained within the light seal. He clenched his fists. Two six-colored extermination fire lotus were formed, after which he threw them behind him without turning his head. Bang bang! The extermination fire lotus exploded on the light seal. Fire wave churned. However, he did not cause the light seal to shake. Immediately, a ray of light suddenly shot out from within the light seal and headed towards Xiaoyan with lightning-like speed. Xiaoyan was cautious when the light ray shot out. He hurriedly turned around. Both of his hands danced, and the purifying demonic fire lotus quickly turned into pink crystals in front of him. Crack, crack. The light ray arrived in the blink of an eye. It directly smashed onto the layers of pink fire crystal. Those crystals quickly collapsed an inch at a time. The light ray seemed to have an extremely easy time destroying those originally extremely hard fire crystals, after which it heavily smashed onto Xiaoyan's body. Grug. Xiaoyan's face turned red after suffering this heavy attack. A mouthful of fresh blood was spat out while his body once again used the momentum to withdraw. Kiki. Xiaoyan's blood dyed the light seal a short distance away. It emitted waves of sizzling sound. Stay behind and accompany me. The mysterious creature did not intend to allow Xiaoyan to escape after defeating him with a single strike. The light seal whistled and once again chased after Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan quietly cried out bitterly after he sensed the wind that was locked onto him. It was far too troublesome to deal with this fellow. He lifted his head and looked at the wiggling space in the distance. After exiting that place, he would be able to escape from this fellow. Although you possess a D-State Soul, your body is merely at the 7-star Doshun class. Would it not be a joke if I allow you to escape? The space above Xiao Yan's head suddenly shook while Xiao Yan was feeling a slight joy because of his short distance to the exit. Light directly broke through the space, after which it violently smashed onto Xiao Yan. From the looks of it, if Xiao Yan was struck by it, he would definitely end up with some injuries. However, when the light seal was about to smash downwards, the blood, which adhered onto it, suddenly vaporized. Finally, a trace of golden blood remained behind and flowed along the light seal. Buzz buzz. The moment this golden blood appeared, the huge body of the mysterious creature that was lingering within the darkness suddenly trembled. A familiar feeling broke through the restraint from his slumber and spread through his body. Buzz. The light seal suddenly halted when it was still dozens of feet from Xiao Yan's head. However, that intense wind pressure still caused the space around Xiao Yan to explode. This sudden scene had also caused Xiao Yan, who was planning on an all-out fight, to be startled. His eyes flashed and his body turned into a ray of light that shot out. With a couple of flashes, he had appeared at the edge of the space. His body moved. He swiftly rushed in and disappeared. The light seal did not give chase after Xiao Yan had left and disappeared. The pair of huge eyes within the darkness contained a loss that seemed to last for a long time as they stared at the remaining golden blood on the light seal. The light seal drifted and slowly arrived above the huge eye. Golden blood dripped down and landed in the huge eye. Soon after, the lost expression in his eyes swiftly disappeared. Those cold and indifferent large eyes actually revealed waves after waves of joyous ripple. Blood. There is the scent of the child. Suddenly, an earth-shaking like stern roar resounded within the quiet space. That huge body, which seemed to have been stilled for thousands of years, suddenly moved and ruthlessly smashed onto the space. However, a faint light surfaced over this realm in the face of its all-out attack. This faint light caused the space itself to be as tough as a prison. "Tu Shi, ancient god, you bastard!" The mysterious creature suddenly turned its head after its futile collision onto the space around him. Those huge eyes stared ruthlessly at the ancient stone door floating in the air. A furious roar that was filled with an unwilling feeling reverberated across this space. However, the ancient stone door remained quiet in the face of its furious roar. It was as though it had remained unchanging since the ancient times. Bang! The sound of magma exploding suddenly resounded across the tunnel that led to the underground magma world at the bottom of the blazing Sky Chi refining tower. Immediately, a somewhat miserable figure charged out from the magma in front of the stunned gazes of Sun Er's group.
Sia Yan Yi. Xun Er Huarit Vorwart.
Her expression changed drastically upon seeing that figure.
Ein Fine.
Xiao Yan's body flashed and landed. He wiped off the trace of blood remaining on the corner of his mouth. Those eyes of his were solemn as they looked at the magma tunnel. He involuntarily clenched his fist. It was unexpected that there was actually such a terrifying existence at the bottom of the magma. What happened? Su Qian, Meng Tianqi, and the rest exclaimed. They were also startled by this appearance of Xiao Yan. All of them were clearly aware of Xiao Yan's strength. Yet, even he was turned into such a miserable state. Just what kind of terrifying thing was at the bottom of the magma? Old Meng, inform clan head Gu Yuan and the rest that the news is confirmed. Xiao Yan spoke in a deep voice with a solemn expression. Meng Tianqi's face twitched violently upon hearing this. His heart involuntarily pounded violently. He understood the importance of this matter. Immediately, he did not dare to slight the situation as he directly turned around and hurriedly left to inform Gu Yuan and the others of this new information. The ancient god mansion is really located at the bottom of the magma? Kai Lin was a little startled as she looked at the magma tunnel and asked. After all, she had stayed inside it for a period of time back then. Yet, she did not sense anything. Xiao Yan nodded. He immediately gave a summary about what had occurred at the bottom of the magma. Sun Er and the rest involuntarily had a drastic change in expression after they heard that there was a mysterious creature comparable to Gu Yuan and Hun Tiandi in the realm at the bottom of the lake. Fortunately, that mysterious creature appears to be unable to leave that realm. Otherwise, there will likely be big trouble today. Xiaoyan laughed bitterly and rejoiced a little as he spoke. Based on the strength that the big fellow had displayed, it was likely that no one present would be able to subdue it if it charged out. Next, let's wait for the Alliance army to arrive. If we allow the Hun clan to succeed this time around, it is likely that there will no longer be any opportunity for us to turn things around. Xiaoyan sighed softly. If Hun Tiandi was allowed to obtain the embryonic D pill, he might really end up breaking through to the Do D class. At that time, no one in this world would be able to fight him. Even the Alliance army would not be able to do so. Sun Er and the rest nodded upon hearing this. This was all they could do for now. The main hall within the Hun realm. Did you say that your mission has failed? Hun Tiandi sat on the leader's seat and looked at the trembling, kneeling figure below with narrowed eyes as he demanded in a faint voice. Yes, for some unknown reason, our trail had been detected by Xiaoyan's group. Hun Yu and the others had been chased by Xiaoyan's group soon after they arrived at the Black Corner region. All of them had perished in the hands of Xiaoyan's group. The figure below was covered with cold sweat. However, his words were still quite clear. How is it possible for Xiaoyan to know of their whereabouts? Hun Tiandi's expression sunk as he demanded. Clan head, Xiaoyan was once a student of the Jianan Academy in the Black Corner region. I'm afraid that it is because the Academy had detected danger and had requested his help. I do not think that he is aware of our intention. That person hurriedly said. Humph, that brat is as sly as a fox. Who knows just what he is thinking? Moreover, if it is not because he had detected something prior to this, how would he be able to arrive in time even if the Academy did send a message requesting for help? The nihility devouring flame by the side snorted coldly. Those bowing figures below widened their mouths upon hearing this. However, all of them voiced their agreement. You mean, could it be that Xiaoyan is also aware of the information that the ancient God Mansion is located in the Black Corner region? Hun Tiandi frowned and asked. This was information that they had managed to learn after spending great effort to gather all the ancient jade. How could Xiaoyan directly learn of it? We cannot exclude this possibility. Didn't that fellow roam the Black Corner region before? Who knows what he had detected? Black flames surged within the eyes of the nihility devouring flame. He spoke in a deep voice, regardless of whether he had detected anything. It is also time for us to move. Otherwise, it would be a severe blow to us if any trouble occurs. Any delay might result in unexpected changes. Hun Tiandi mused for a moment before nodding. Clearly, news of Xiaoyan's appearance in the Black Corner region had caused him to feel an unease. What about that Gu Yuan? The nihility devouring flame said. Recently, Gu Yuan had been monitoring the Hun clan's realm. He would definitely detect something if a large group of experts was dispatched from this place. I have already got someone to build a wormhole at the northwestern region which connects to the Hun realm. At that time, you will intervene and lead a group to the Black Corner region. I will delay Gu Yuan. Hun Tiandi spoke in a faint voice. The nihility devouring flame hesitated for a moment upon hearing this. Finally, he nodded. As long as I am able to obtain the embryonic D pill within the ancient God Mansion, the so-called Alliance army will be nothing but ants. Hun Tiandi lifted his head. He looked at the top of the large hall. An icy cold smile surfaced on his face as he softly spoke to himself. Gu Yuan sat on a stone tower at the top of the star realm. Vast and mighty spiritual fluctuation rippled around him, causing the stone tower to be filled with a terrifying pressure. Other than a handful of people, No one else dared to approach the area within 1,000 feet from the stone tower in the face of this pressure. Gu Yuan's expression was as deep as water as he sat at the top of the stone tower. Both of his eyes were shut. The vast and endless spiritual strength entered into the empty space. It probed deep into the location where the Hun realm was located using a mysterious method, after which traces of spiritual strength entwined around the place. In this way, he was able to detect any slight fluctuation in the space around that place. Buzz. The empty space suddenly began to fluctuate intensely while Gu Yuan continued to probe. Immediately, it turned into a human figure that stood with his hands behind him. Gu Yuan, who was at a stone tower a great distance away, suddenly opened his eyes when the human figure appeared. Immediately, he let out a cold snort. His body moved and disappeared. He was already in front of that figure the next time he appeared. Hun Tiandi. A cold glint flashed across Gu Yuan's eyes as he looked at the white-clothed, seemingly refined man in front of him. Of the four of us back then, only the two of us are left. This world is indeed ever-changing. Hun Tiandi looked at Gu Yuan. He smiled faintly and remarked, "The fall of the other two is greatly related to you." Gu Yuan laughed coldly.
Hun Tiandi was non-committal.
He looked at Gu Yuan before he suddenly said, "If you are willing to cooperate with me, I will definitely help you once I advance into the Do D class in the future." Gu Yuan was startled. He did not expect that Hun Tiandi would actually try to recruit him. However, he quickly smiled and asked, "Do you think that is possible? How unfortunate. You are one of the few people who I hold in high regard." Hun Tiandi shook his head in disappointment, seemingly aware of Gu Yuan's answer. He lifted his head and looked at the empty space before he suddenly muttered, "It is rumored that an elite Do D is almighty. But why is it that those elite Do D from back then had completely disappeared?" Gu Yuan frowned tightly but did not reply. These answers would likely be revealed once I advanced to the Do D class. Hun Tiandi stared at the endless empty space. There was a strange luster flashing past them. He immediately turned towards Gu Yuan and laughed. "This world will not be able to restrain me." His words was wild and proud. However, there was also a monstrous aura surging from it. Even Gu Yuan had not laughed at these words. This was because he understood that this opponent whom he had fought secretly for thousands of years did indeed possess the boldness and potential to utter these words. "You are planning to delay me, right?"
Gu Yuan stared at Hun Tiandi.
Given his intelligence, he naturally saw through the reason why the latter did not attack. Since this was the case, it was obvious that the other party had only one intention. It was to hold him back. Hun Tiandi laughed upon hearing this. He calculated the time and smilingly said, "It is about time. The ancient God Mansion is at the Black Corner region, right?" Gu Yuan narrowed his eyes and said. The smile on Hun Tiandi's face stiffened when these words were spoken. It quickly disappeared as he replied, "You are indeed aware of it." Hun Tiandi did not hide anything. This was because he understood that since Gu Yuan had uttered those words, the latter definitely understood the situation quite well. Otherwise, it would only be a wasted effort. "It seems that the heavens is not helping you." Gu Yuan laughed. "We will soon find out just who will lose." Hun Tiandi spread his hands. He paused for a moment before asking, "Is it because of Xiao Yin?" He was naturally asking about why Gu Yuan was aware of the location of the ancient God Mansion. Gu Yuan smiled. He neither admitted nor denied it. "He is really a Scrooge." Hun Tiandi involuntarily shook his head. His heart felt an unknown feeling. Who could have imagined that the declined Xiao clan would actually produce such a person? Even his Hun clan had suffered many losses in his hand. Now, even the ancient God Mansion was first detected by Xiao Yin. It is all because of that group of fools who had been hiding some information. Hun Tiandi sighed softly. If it was not because Xiao Yin had gradually stood out in the Central Plains, it was likely that he would still be unaware that the latter had actually escaped from the many attacks by the Hun clan. By the time he had learned of all these, the youth from back then had already spread his wings. Due to the many schemes taking place, he also did not have the time to bother about him. Who could have expected that this small mistake would actually end up creating such a big trouble for them? You will end up suffering if you underestimate him, Gu Yuan smiled. He was quiet for a moment before he said, he will perhaps be even more outstanding than Xiao Xian. Oh. Hun Tiandi lifted his brow. He smiled faintly and said, it seems your evaluation is quite high. However, since my Hun clan is able to kill the first Xiao Xian, we will naturally be able to kill the second one. Gu Yuan, now, let's head to the Black Corner region and have a look. The space around Hun Tiandi was slowly distorted. His body gradually vanished. A cold glint flashed across Gu Yuan's eyes as he looked at Hun Tiandi, who had disappeared. His body flashed, and he directly appeared within the meeting room of the Star Realm. He looked at Lei Ying and the others before waving his hand and ordered in a deep voice, the Alliance will head to the Black Corner region. This time around, we must definitely stop the Hun clan.